Thanks, Marie. It's good to see some familiar faces and names on here. So this session is all about the first impression that your golf shop makes and what's it saying to your customers and what can we do in a hurry to improve it. There's my information should you need to reach out to me. For those of you that don't know me, I'm part of the AGM education team. So I do a lot of seminars all over the place in my real job. I'm a golf retail consultant, and I also teach at Florida Golf Coach University for the PGM program there. So I've got a couple students I know on here, so that's kind of fun. So what this session is going to cover, and then at the end, like Marisa, we'll take questions on any topic, not necessarily related to this, anything else you want to ask, I'm happy to answer questions. We're going to talk about the entry to your shop, the image that your shop portrays, your featured displays, and the need to really look at your traffic pattern and your silent selling staff. Yeah, so why is it important that we look at our shop even just for 7 seconds? Just some fun facts, numbers that they're just kind of interesting, right? 73% of purchasing decisions are made once people get in the store. So once they open your front door, 3/4 of their decisions are made at that time. So that impression that you make when they first open that front door is huge. Potential customers make a judgment within 90 seconds. So I said 7, you've maybe got 60. Most of those first impressions are based on color. That's the number one thing that grabs people and makes them look further is the color. So important to have color up front, screaming, yelling, everything it can do. If they don't like the aesthetics of your shop, more than half of the people won't come back. So if they walk in and they immediately are confronted with a mess and not a welcoming environment, you probably won't ever get them back in your store. And 93% of apparel decisions are based on visual appearance or visual merchandise. So it just shows you how important your displays and the overall image that you're projecting are. So when we talk about the entry of your shop, just a few things to think about at your own place. Is it easy to locate? If I drove into your parking lot, would I know immediately where to go? I'd probably see a sign for the bag drop, but once I get to the bag drop, would I see a sign for the golf shop? Are you inviting shoppers in? Do they have a view into your shop to entice them to walk into the shop? So where is it? We probably can't change the location of our shop, but you could make it easier for people to find. I've been to a lot of facilities where the golf shop's kind of around the back, of the building, and, it makes sense where it is, but if you're standing in the parking lot, you have no idea how to find it. Or you walk in the front door and there's no directions to get you to the locker rooms and that. So think about if yours is one of those hard to locate shops. Is there a sign at your front door? Is there a sign at the bag drop? Are there signs in the locker room directing people to the golf shop if it's not right off the locker room? And your bag staff, if you're welcoming guests to your club, should be giving every single one of them directions to the important things: the locker rooms, the golf shop, driving range, restaurant, those sorts of things. Does everyone that works at your facility, in the restaurants, in the tennis shop, do they know where the golf shop is in case someone gets lost and wants to come ask them? And that. So this is a club here. I live in Naples, Florida. So this is a club actually up in Fort Myers. You can tell, beautiful bag drop, nice expansive area. It drops you off in. The clubhouse is off to one side. It's kind of obvious that that building in the back is the golf shop, but it doesn't tell me that. And the sign there says pedestrian traffic only. So all it's saying is no golf carts, which then it's like, okay, well, what am I going to? So when I get back to the door, underneath the overhang is the sign that says golf shop. So what a difference it would make, a simple fix to put the golf shop above the door up here, if they were to put that same sign right here. It'd be much more inviting and it would tell people right away, oh yeah, that's where I need to go next. So think about little things like that with where your shop is. So your sign, is there one? Is it readable from a distance? And is it nice? Please check into golf shop before using practice facility. Is that necessarily nice? Does it say pro shop? Does it say golf shop? Does it say your club name and shop? The proper PGA term now is golf shop, not pro shop, because we're going away from a lot of pro-owned shops. So what does it actually say? Here's kind of a fun one, the golf shop and practice facility. So it's really saying, here's what's here. Does it reflect the image of the facility? So are you trying to look very municipal, like please check into golf shop before using practice facility? Or are you trying to be very upscale, like the golf shop, spelled in a very European way, right? So what is your sign saying about your shop? And, again, pretty easy fix to get a sign. There's a million different companies out there that can do golf course signs for you. and you probably already all know one. Are you inviting your shoppers in? So when they do find your shop, is the outside of it clean, attractive, uncluttered? What are they walking past to get there? Are they walking past where boxes are delivered? Or are they walking past a beautiful like flower arrangement or something? So what does that look like? Is there a merchandise display outside? Can you put a merchandise display outside? If not, you know, it's something, yes, you're gonna have to take it in and out each day, so you don't wanna get really complicated. Probably this one here is a little much unless they somehow can close that off to have to bring in and out each day, but is there something that you can put out there versus just a sale rack or boxes that, you know, Shipsticks boxes that are waiting to be picked up? There's a really cute example of one that would be pretty easy to carry in and out. You know, it's just a couple mannequins and that, but it definitely welcomes you to the shop in a nice way. So think about what's right outside your door. And then think about the view into your shop. Can they look in your windows? Are they heavily tinted, which a lot of shops put all these windows in and then have to tint them so the merchandise isn't damaged by the sun. So we're really just hurting ourselves with that. But if all your displays face in, such as the picture in with the corner there on your left, what are they seeing from the outside? Just the backs of mannequins. On the other hand, the picture on the right has a fixture that can be merchandise facing both directions, and is. In the shop that this is from, very often she will do displays purposely facing out with only a little bit facing in, because right outside that window is the water machine where people get their cups of water and stuff for their carts before they go out to play. So she's making very good use of a window there facing out. So make sure that if you do have windows, that your displays look to people on the inside and the outside. Take care of all of your customers, right? And then here's another shop that's got massive amounts of windows, and in order to display merchandise, they had to put some rather large fixtures, which essentially block a lot of the windows. They're also now, because this is a club, another club in Florida, experiencing some issues with sun damage because of the amount of sun that gets on those garments that are on those hanging fixtures. They do have some mannequins facing out. You can see one up here and a couple more in the back, but beautiful windows that don't allow the display of merchandise. So they're kind of inhibiting the shop a little bit more so than enhancing it, and big fixtures blocking it. So if you do have windows where you can do displays, this is Pinehurst. For those of you that have been here, probably saying, I know where that is. They have these inside box windows inside there between their two golf shops, and they always have the most creative and fun displays in there. So if you do have windows that you can do actual displays and have some fun with them, invite the people in, tell them what's going on at your club that week, let them know, come in. Yeah. So other things about the view into your shop, if the door is open it, leave it open if you can. You know, especially if you're a shop that's indoors, that you're connected to the clubhouse and you're not like air conditioning the outdoors by having your front doors open, be sure and leave them, leave the doors open so that people can see in. And that, be very mindful of that transition area right inside your door. It takes people about 10 paces in before their eyes adjust. So any display you put too close to your front door, you risk people walking into and or completely missing because their eyes haven't adjusted. So they come in and walk around. So the picture on the left, beautiful display, really cool doors, but it's awfully close to those front doors. So people may miss a little bit of that display because they're more focused on how do I get around it. Whereas the one on the right-hand side gives you more space before you come to that display. So just think about where your display is versus the front door of the shop and how much space you leave in that. What do they see first when your customers come in the shop? Are they greeted by a feature display, hopefully some nice display, or are they greeted by your counter? And all too often we tell people, don't come in, because we put the counter blocking the whole entrance, in that we want to encourage them to come in and have to find the counter, right? In that. So a couple examples of some nice displays greeting people when they come in. Here's one that's right in front of the counter, the one in the middle there, but they're blocking it with a nice display. So you're seeing merchandise and then the counter located right behind it. This is another golf shop in Florida. Are you seeing a trend here in white, browns, and blues, and lots of windows and TVs and all this stuff? This is the whole front entrance of the shop is completely blocked by this counter. So all it's missing here is a stop sign saying don't come in, because they have completely obstructed the view of any merchandise from this shop. And when they opened this shop, their sales took a huge hit because they weren't inviting people in. So now they've started bringing some merchandise out in front into the rotunda area of the clubhouse. They do have other outside doors, but they're not used. People are coming in this main entrance. So be mindful of that, of where they are. You come in to encourage them to look. And so we said, put a display up front, but make sure that that display doesn't create a visual roadblock. And by that, I mean a display such as in the picture here, gorgeous display, but it's so tall that you can't see anything behind it. So be mindful of that display up front, that you're allowing them to look at the rest of the shop and not blocking the rest of the shop from their view. So watch out for those visual roadblocks. You don't want to create those. Here's another great example. This display is almost to the ceiling, and if at the front door, you don't see anything behind it. It completely blocks what's behind the rest of the shop there. So be mindful of that with your displays in the front. And then I mentioned the transition zone, to keep that in mind, the 10 to 15 paces for the eyes to adjust. This is an interesting example because it's going totally against what I just said, 10 to 15 places or paces in to adjust. But if they didn't have this display here, they have the same problem as that other shop I showed you. Their counter is completely blocking the entire entrance. It's the 10 to 15 paces in. So by putting this display here, they're forcing customers to at least choose one direction or the next, and then they can catch them with a nice display showing merchandise on either side of the counter. So they're directing them to look away from walking in right to that counter. So stand outside your doors and see what they see first, and are there things that you can adjust a little bit. Kind of a really cool example. I don't know, these big, huge stuffed golf balls here. I just envisioned some child knocking them all down, but a really neat display. And again, it's blocking the counter. So you don't really notice that the counter's right there, but yet it is literally right behind that display. And that. So be creative with hiding your counter if you do have one right at the front of your shop, so that they at least have to walk around and look. And here's another great idea of some displays here. This may be, you know, you're kind of not even giving the people a path here. So watch what you're doing, you know, with them. Don't get too huge, because you do want to encourage them to come in. So you don't want to block the whole entrance with your displays either. No. And then moving to the image of your shop. So when I glance around your shop, what does it tell me? And here's where those 7 seconds really come into play, because that's about all it takes to kind of look around the shop. What's the feeling I get? What colors is your shop? Does the colors make me feel one way or another? And does your shop match the rest of your facility? And very often they don't. It seems like our golf shops are totally overlooked when the club renovates. The golf shop's the last one on the list to get any money. And then by the time they get to the shop, the money's run out. Probably a lot of you have experienced that. So your first glance, overall appearance, what does it suggest? The location of the shop, does it tell me where I am in the world? Does it tell me something unique about the facility? You know, something clever, cool about it? Does it tell me as a customer what to expect if I come further in? Does it tell me something about the selection you're going to have, about the quality of your merchandise? Does it make me want to come in, to look, to touch, to buy? Does it show me that I'm going to enjoy this shopping experience because everything is just neat and inviting and colorful and just makes me want to come in and find more? So what am I telling people? So this one clearly tells you it's in the Southwest, right? Just right by the counter. I just absolutely love that counter because I think it's so creative, the way of that they did the fixtures and stuff around it. But all the fixtures lend you to know where it is. A couple other ones, the one on the left obviously is probably a Western shop. I actually think that that's out in Bandon Dunes out in Oregon. And that, but because of the ceiling, you know, you get a kind of a lodge feel, whereas the other one with the tall white ceilings, you get more of a country plantation sort of feel there. So it tells you a little bit about the shop. They each have a very unique feeling, both with a lot of woods on the ceiling, but the different colors make a big difference in where those shops are located. The white shop is actually in South Carolina. I'll tell you where that one is. Does it tell you anything unique about your shop? Both of these photos are from Bear Path up in Minnesota. And one unique thing that they do is every display has a bear in it to go along with their name, which is kind of cool. But then some of the displays, like the Christmas one, it's like, how do you get into the shop beyond that, right? They get a little carried away and is that inviting shopping? You know, it's telling you there's something unique about the shop, but is it also inviting shopping? So you've got to look at them from both ways on that. You know, where am I going Is it inviting me in or telling me to stop and just look at the bears? No. What am I going to expect when I do get inside? You know, at the one at the bottom left, it's a very classic kind of elegant feel. So I'm probably expecting stuff to cost a little bit more. It's going to be kind of a neat shop, not as much selection, more of a boutique. The one on the right-hand side, I just see lots of stuff. And that actually is TPC at Sawgrass. So there is lots of stuff there and they sell lots of stuff, but the totally different looks that I'm getting, and it kind of gives me an idea of what to expect inside. So when you look at your shop, think about, what am I telling people to expect when they walk in here? What are they going to see if they come to the very dark corners of my shop, right? This is a top 100 award-winning shop from Cambodia, of all places. Totally different feel it's telling you. So this one's saying upbeat, contemporary, almost touristy, right? So you're expecting to find souvenirs, all kinds of stuff here because it's got much more of a retail store feel. It's even got the names, you know, vendor names above and stuff. So totally different feel than what we would expect in a country club or resort, you know, much more of a resort feel, definitely. But everything says something about the place that you're visiting in that. Quality of merchandise, what's it going to tell you about what's there and what we're selling? So we've got one display on the left with, you know, the vests and pants all neatly folded, really cool wood fixtures. It's just absolutely beautiful, big, huge hat wall behind. So we're thinking luxury, you know, lots of cool stuff. I can't wait to get in there and find more. And then the other display, we've got t-shirts. So is that telling us something totally different about the shop? Very different racks behind it and all that. So now you're looking at these two pictures saying, okay, they're totally different. These are actually the same facility. And this is the Oak Hill that's in Detroit that burnt last year. So the first picture on the left is the one before their fire. The second picture is their temporary shop. So they're now in a shop with, you know, rolling racks and different types of fixtures, totally different look, totally different merchandise that they're selling out of there right now. And that, so same club, two different perceptions that you would get of the facility by the stuff that's there. Now, selection of merchandise. What am I going to find when I come in? The one on the left tells you there's going to be a lot more and much more varied selection, more, you know, like a retail store, again, because of the types of fixtures. The one on the right, they're showing a sport coat for one thing. So clearly this is, you know, much more of a formal type shop, or gives you that impression that it's going to be more formal, higher end, you know, a little bit less selection perhaps, because they're not showing nearly the merchandise there that they are in the other shop. So just the idea of what can I expect when I come in further. And then I talked about the shoppability before, but here's a couple other great examples. In the one on the left, very shoppable. You know, you see racks, nice little neat rows, you know, all this kind of stuff. But the displays, while they've got a lot of merchandise on them, are well merchandise. They're showing it. They're inviting me in. The other display is also very pretty, but I'm not sure I'd walk past and under one of those fake trees standing there. So am I inviting people to come in and shop further? Or am I making them say, nah, that's all right, I don't need to go in there? What am I doing? Overall feeling of your shop, is it one of fun, funkiness, coolness? I love the red and white canopies, and that's a club, as you might imagine, out on Cape Cod with the awnings, and all of their display windows on the inside and outside have those red and white awnings. So they really take advantage of them in their displays and have a lot of fun. Obviously, the Classics Club, taking a feature on Arnold Palmer, and that's a display that's outside the golf shop all the time. And then the third one is actually Black Wolf Run up in Kohler, and they're taking advantage of their rustic kind of feel in their shop. So each one of those is setting a very different feeling for you to expect in the shop, but also kind of telling you, especially the Cape Cod one, where you are. You know, what can I expect when I get in there? Colors matter. Floor, ceiling, walls, carpet, everything that's on them really make a difference in the customer's impression of your shop. So the things to think about here, is it the mood that you want? Is your shop too light or too dark? Are the colors pleasing? Do they let you show merchandise in its best way possible? Very often we have interior designers that decide on golf shops that have never worked in a retail space and really don't have a clue in what helps merchandise or enhance merchandise. And they'll pick these obscure colors that you put on merchandise on a wall, and it looks horrible against this color because it's not really meant to feature merchandise. considering the colors of your built-in fixturing too. When we get so dark with the dark cherry wood, it's absolutely beautiful, but when you start putting dark colored merchandise on it, it gets lost. So, and keep in mind your lighting. Good lighting can really improve the feel of small spaces and poor coloration. So if every customer is saying to you, can I take this outside to see if it's navy blue or black? Your lighting needs help. So take a look at that and see if you can't change, even if you can change the bulbs to LED lighting or halogen lights, you know, a little bit more expensive, give off some heat, but they're going to really improve the feel of your golf shop because it will make it brighter automatically and show the colors. This is a really cool color wheel that I found that tells you what the different colors represent. And, you know, I love the red one. It's rage, anger, and annoyance. And we use red for stuff when it's on sale. Is that because we're annoyed that it's still here and we want it gone? But then when I think about a lot of shops now that are the yellows and golds, you know, ecstasy, joy, serenity, you know, those are good colors for golf shops and stuff. Whereas the blues, a surprise, distraction, amazement, they're good feelings, but they might not be the best color for getting people to buy. So warmer colors, your yellows, your gold or oranges and that, browns make people happy and those encourage purchasing and stuff. Cooler colors are calming. So your blues, some of the greens, you know, will be more calming to people and can feel a little bit cold if there's too much of them. And then if you've ever been in a store that's all blue, you can probably feel that. And red people buy, actually makes people buy more, but only if it's used sparingly because it does generate kind of emotional things. But clearance is always red, always has been in the retail world. So here's a shop that's out in Las Vegas. Actually, it's Valley High. So the colors and the design totally fits where it is, its location, its, you know, what it's going for, but interesting colors, but it's got a whole different feel of, you know, almost orangeness to the shop in a different hue. So is that inviting to you? You know, does that encourage? Totally different. Here's another Florida shop. Can you tell? White, blue, and grays, right? But totally different feel, very light, very bright, very airy. So giving you off a whole different feel from just the colorations that are chosen in a shop. And that floor colorings, wall colorings, ceilings make a huge difference. These two both have the same type of floor. One's got lower ceilings and it's painted gold, and the other's got taller ceilings and is white, and very different appearance to the colors. So even changing the colors on your walls could have a huge impact on your overall shop feeling and appearance and the tone that you're setting, just the mood that your color creates when people walk into your shop. So don't ever paint your shop red. And then keep in mind your wall fixtures too. Are they showing off your merchandise the best way possible? If you do have dark built-in cabinets, is there a way you can get some lights in them so that you can highlight, or some spotlights on them? In this particular picture, all the lighting stops at the top of those cabinets. So the merchandise inside it doesn't get any spotlights on it. So it's not really showing it off, even though some of it's pretty bright. So be mindful of those. See a lot of shops doing this. Again, another Florida shop. See a lot of shops doing this now with the slat wall and framing it with wood. So it doesn't look like a whole big, huge wall of slat wall, but a lighter, open, you know, feel to it that you could make 3 separate little sections if you wanted, or one big display, whatever you want to do with it. So a little bit more versatile colorations there. And then the last thing was, does your shop match the rest of your facility? When did you last renovate your golf shop in that? And then the next question, when was the clubhouse last renovated? And I'm guessing that for most of you, the clubhouse has been renovated a lot more frequently than your golf shop, because golf shops are very often overlooked. And especially if you're a pro who owns your shop, the club is very likely to overlook you. So some things to think about, and maybe if you think maybe you can get some money from the club to help do something there. People, potential members that come to your club very often see your golf shop first, and that can form their opinion of the rest of the facility before they ever see it. So you're the first place, you're the first point of contact. And if the image your shop is projecting doesn't mirror the rest of the club, that can be a problem for potential members. So be very mindful of what image your shop is presenting, because that's the rest of the club. And it's a good selling tool to boards and people making these decisions. If the club owns your shop, it's a potential profit maker. So it really should be considered constantly updated to maximize that potential for money coming into the club instead of just being paid out. And if you are a professional that owns your shop, maybe your facility will partner with you to update it, you know, a half and half thing or something. And even if you own the shop, that shop is still an extension of the entire facility. So they should be wanting it to project the same image and the same beauty that the rest of their newly updated facility does. So argue. So this is a shop, again, I think, again, in the Carolinas from the whiteness of it, but I don't know what the rest of this club looks like, but this shop has got wood racks, it's got metal racks, it's got a white counter, it's got dark wood on the walls. It's got a little bit of everything going on here. So I'm not sure what a customer would draw from seeing this shop as to what the rest of the clubhouse would look like. You know, it's just a kind of a total mishmash of things. So again, if your shop is projecting this type of an image, is that what your club wants it to project? So be mindful of all these different things going on in shops. And then we're going to move on to talk a little bit about displays. Your featured display, those key ones, that 10 to 15 paces inside the door, is it going to make shoppers stop and look, or are they just going to walk right on by? Is there a theme to it? Does your display make their eye travel the whole display? And I've talked about this a little bit already, is it neat, clean, and is it shoppable? Is it a display that they will feel comfortable touching, feeling the merchandise? Color's the most important thing that drives people. The second most important thing that drives people to purchase is the touch. So if you can get them to stop because of the color and touch it because it's shoppable, you're halfway to selling the garment. You're actually probably more than halfway to selling the garment. So our effective displays, sometimes they're the only opportunity we have to make a sale, right? They're our first, and sometimes that's it, that we only get that one. They should tell a story. We don't just want shirts on a table. They should direct the customer's eye around your whole display. They should always reflect a pyramid or a triangle. So look at your displays and see if you can find a pyramid, not 5 pyramids, just one, that's going to direct people's eye up and then back down and all around your whole display. It really makes a difference if you can build a pyramid on your displays and your walls as well. And then encourage people to shop, touch the product. What do they like? What don't they like? You know, what's in there. So some fun displays with some really unique props. You know, obviously these are both Christmas themed, right? Or Christmas theme there. We've got the Santa hat on the mannequin. Normally hats don't go on mannequins. I'll let you get away with a Santa hat. The other one I had to look at really closely to figure out what in the world that is, and that it's actually a ski chair, you know, from a ski lift, and then they've got skis against it, but very creative and sets the tone, yet it's able to merchandise. And both of these are very shoppable while still giving you a really interesting theme and take on what's going on in their facilities. And here's another one. Now this one's got a hat on a mannequin. That's a no-no because that's not where we wear hats. Both of them do. We don't put hats on our necks, so they don't belong on mannequins there. Nice, neat, and clean, shoppable displays. The one with the putting green in front of it, it's a really pretty display behind it, but how do I get to it to shop it? Because I'm not clearly going to walk across that putting green because I don't want to have to fix those golf balls when I mess up the last C by going over to see what that blue bag is. So keep in mind what they look like and are they shoppable. Couple, you know, with a game day theme, you know, with all kinds of cool stuff there. Relatively shoppable. Again, it's kind of big forward. The farmer's market one's got a lot of stuff going on there. Pretty shoppable, but is it too much? You know, are there too many props? Sometimes we get a little carried away with the props in our displays. And, you know, after all, we want to sell merchandise, not props. So if what people come up to you from that display and want to buy is that farmer's market sign, that's not a good thing. You want them to buy the shirts that are in the display. So be mindful of when you do use props, which you should be, you want to sell merchandise. So a couple more examples, a great one here, the props, you know, and tell you where it is, obviously a seashore type club, the fabrics or the colors that are there, but a very shoppable display and that the props are kind of out of the way and not really visible. And then a kids corner, I think this is a really neat kids corner to me. It'd be wonderful if it had a sign up on the top of it that said kids corner or kids area or kids play zone or something to identify to someone walking in up high that they know, oh gosh, look, they've got kids apparel. They might not notice this unless they stumble over there because it's not signed. So what are we telling people with our displays? A couple other great examples of the pyramid. This one, you know, you can clearly see the pyramid with the Johnny O. We've got the sign there. Couple other items. The props here, other than the little plant, all our merchandise that's for sale, which is really great. You know, so your props that you do use, first look for them from your golf shop. and that. And then make sure that you're maintaining height in your shop. If you've got particularly tall ceilings, you want to go up, and the one on the right, you know, has got their pyramid off to the side, not the center like the other one. But again, great use of some props and some merchandise as props, but very shoppable, you know, kind of a fun look. And golf bags hung from the ceiling, which is kind of an interesting idea. I'm not sure how they did it, but it's kind of cool. And that. A couple other just, you know, unique theme displays. So they're saying what they are. Obviously a Masters display, and we've got a Western one there. I might let them get away with the cowboy hat on the mannequin too, just not a ball cap. So, and you know, whether they're shoppable or not, that's up to you guys. But, and then your traffic pattern, which goes right along with your displays because it's going to determine where they are. Are you looking in your real front door? Every golf shop has a front door, and then it's got the real front door. So if you've got 2 or 3 entrances to your shop, which one do most people come in? Because that is your real front door. So that's the one that you've got to be merchandising to mostly. Does your floor plan invite shopping, or does it make people stop? What about your fixtures, your counter? We've talked a little bit about those. Are there enough silent selling people? And by that, you'll find out what I mean in a minute. Some of you already know. I'm sure you've guessed, right? So what is the real front door of your shop? Which door do most customers come in? And what do they see when they walk in that door? Now, very important to be aware. I think doesn't want to know. Are there feature displays found at all entrances of the shop? So this is a shop, actually you saw a picture of the walls of this shop earlier. It's got a front door, and straight through is the door into the clubhouse. Both doors are about equally used. The counter is all the way back in this, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, all the way back in the right-hand corner of the shop. So we're looking from the outside in, but she's got a display blocking you walking straight through. So when you come in, you kind of are forced to make a choice and go to the right or the left. Most people will walk to the right. They'll also look to the right when they enter a retail shop. So that right-hand side is going to be her best, but they can't see and go straight through. So it's not a shop that she's given them the option of walking in the front door and straight through the shop to get to the restaurant. She's blocked the way and made them see stuff along their way. So if you do have 2 entrances, are there feature displays at both entrances? And she does have a big display at the other entrance as well. So what are you doing with those 2 different entrances? And what do they see when they do come in? So think about your floor plan. Where your counter is going to dictate the traffic flow. So is it in a good location? I'm sure a lot of you are sitting there saying, not really. I'd really like to move that. And is it the proper size? We get very carried away with these massive, huge counters that we don't need, right? The counter's not selling any merchandise for you. You know, if you don't have a need for having 6 computer terminals, don't build a counter that'll hold them, right? You know, 1 or 2, whatever, you know, your volume dictates or whatever your traffic dictates. And especially with COVID, and we told people not to come into our golf shops anymore. And a lot of places haven't gone back to making people check in. So if they're not coming in to check in, do we really need these big, huge counters anymore? Or can we get away from them? Does your floor plan invite people to walk all the way through? Is it open and welcoming, or does it look very crowded and very cluttered that they just don't even want to come into your shop? And what's the focal point of your floor plan? Is there a hot spot? And I mentioned this already, the right side is the best. You know, studies have shown that people walk and look right. So look at your front door, your real front door, and to the right inside that 10 paces in, that's your hot spot in your shop. So what's going on right there? And this is an overhead view, right, of a club. This is actually Falcon's Fire in the Orlando area, very near the convention. And their front door is over here on the left-hand side, the entrance, and then they've got a side entrance that goes out to the cart staging area. It's a resort. So 99% of their people come in that front door, and they've done a really cool job of blocking the direct path to their counter by making people choose to go right or left. And since most people choose to go right, right there is their massive hat wall, which at a resort is one of the top selling items. So they've really capitalized on directing people and what they see when they direct them here in this thing. And I think this is such a cool picture. I don't know how they got it, but I think it's really cool. University of Wisconsin golf shop. And again, big shop, straight view through, front door and from the clubhouse, outdoor out to the back. They've got a table inside, you know, blocking it in the middle there. And then, you know, directing people to go one side or another. I think it's interesting in this shop that the posts on one side every other post has got the merchandise facing angles, and then this one here, it's facing straight on. And why they didn't do them all angled like that, which you'd see walking by, so just an interesting tidbit about it. But be mindful of what your traffic pattern is in your shop, and what are you saying to people. And that this is a kind of interesting club in that it's like a V-shaped shop, and that with a door on there, a door on the front and a door on the side. So they merchandise to all doors. So they've got a big display here in the front directing people to one side or the other, and then another display at the back when people come into the shop. But they've done a nice job of merchandising every possible way into this building. And it makes it hard. Is it an inviting shop? This one here, you can't even tell where the counter is. It's all the way back in this back corner. But is it inviting you to shop and come in and weave around the racks? It probably is. The other one, the one on the right, is actually Stream Song here in Florida, massive, huge resort, huge counter in the front. And what they found was that it blocked people from coming in anywhere. Either it actually caught 2 doors and blocked them off. So they kind of stopped using this side part here and started merchandising more along the side of the counter, because it was just way too big. And unfortunately, it's under this thing on the ceiling and, all this. So they're kind of stuck with a behemoth counter that's not really productive for them. And then it takes away from some of their merchandise space. So I mentioned before, the angled fixtures makes a huge difference in what people see, because we look straight forward when we're walking. If something's at an angle, from my peripheral vision, I'll catch the sides of it. But if all the fixtures are straight, like in the left-hand picture, I'm going to walk down this aisle and I might not see anything that's along there. But in this picture on the right-hand side, the fixtures are at angles. So when I walk in, I'm going to see bits and pieces of each one of those racks as I walk through the shop. It's still a straight path through the shop, but I'm going to see more along the way. So just turning your fixtures to an angle can make a huge difference in your shop. If you can't get away from kind of the straight line to your counter, make them at least have to see some stuff as they go by. And take a minute. And then figure out what your focal point is, the hot spot in your shop. I think this is such a cool wall fixture. I don't know if I'd like to have to merchandise it because of all the curves and stuff in there. But it's not in this. It just looks like a bunch of stuff hanging on a wall. And, someone with much more creativity than me could probably take this and make it a really cool focal point to the shop and really highlight the uniqueness of this wall and that in the displays. So if you've got a unique feature like this to your shop, highlight it instead of just hiding it, kind of thing. Take advantage of that. Here's the same kind of angled things, but a lot of shops have pool tables in them. And that's kind of a common thing, take advantage of merchandising, that, and make sure, again, with a big, huge fixture like this, are you merchandising the front of it and the back? So you're merchandising both sides. And with a huge fixture like a pool table, you can easily do 2 separate displays on it. So have some fun with those unique features that you have in your shop. We talked about your counter before, just the location. Big thing, everybody eventually gets to your counter, right? Is it uncluttered? Is there stuff everywhere? Does it look good? Is it functional? And half the counters in golf shops are not really functional for what we need them to be anymore. Do they project the image of your shop? Is it the proper size for the space and staffing you need? If you need to have 2 or 3 terminals because you're that busy checking people in all day, or you're constantly doing crossovers or whatever, do you have enough place on the counter for that? And the opposite's also true. If you only really need 1 terminal because no one has to come into the shop to check in anymore, why do you have a counter that'll hold 4? Is it in the best location in your shop? Counter should not be the focal point of your shop. It's not selling any merchandise for you. It's just there to help facilitate ringing up what they find on their way to it. So it's not supposed to be the focal point. A really horrible example of a counter. I don't even know where you'd go to that to pay because there's so much stuff. So I hope yours doesn't look like that. This other one is that club out in Las Vegas, again, at Valley High. And it really keeps up with the theme of the shop. You might not even really kind of figure out that this is a counter. I don't know, that bird looking down at me would kind of scare me if I was standing there paying for stuff, but pretty cool, look. So just some idea, here's a nice small counter that's a really neat, I like how the balls are displayed in the front of it, kind of thing. Depending on the size of the shop and the volume that it does, it's 1 terminal, could be all that they really need. The other one up top is massive and, you know, holds a lot of stuff. Now that's actually Torrey Pines out in California. So it needs a massive, huge space and stuff, but lots of squares there to keep full, right? When you look at that, you're probably like, oh my God, I wouldn't want to have to make sure that looked full all the time and that. So what are you saying to people? A couple other counters that seem to be huge focal points in the shops. And do they need to be? What's it selling, you know? How many of those dolphins did they sell in this club here? But it's cool looking, but I don't know. It's taking floor space from you. A couple of examples of smaller ones in corners, you know, and this one here in the back corner of the shop, and depending on how much use that door gets in the back there. But it's very hidden and it allows the whole shop to be merchandised. And this one I thought was a really neat display fixture for golf balls because it holds the dozens up there and then down, or I'm sorry, the sleeves on the top and then down at the bottom, the dozens. And it's kind of a neat, I hadn't seen anything like that until I saw this picture. That's kind of a neat display for golf balls and that right up front and easily maintained and that. So how is your counter and you know, is it changeable? And that's part of the problem always is we can't really just routinely change counters. So then we're going to talk a little bit about the fixtures in your shop and do those fit the image of your facility? Do they all match? I showed you that one picture where they've got 3 or 4 different colors and types of fixtures and it just doesn't set a uniform look for your shop. Are they in good condition to show off what you're selling? Are they well stocked, too full, too empty? Can you easily maintain them? You know, if they're big, huge fixtures that have all these sections to them, what do you do in your off season? And are your fixtures on wheels so you can easily move them? Can you remove some from your floor? Can you bring a golf cart into the middle of your shop when it's slow time just to fill it up? So back to Nantucket, you know, and the cute little red awnings in there, but, you know, some fun displays, some neat fixturing. That middle one, again, is the Kohler Properties, and they really take advantage of their log cabin type feel. And then obviously an Arizona Club, and that's a window, and that display is actually inside. You can see the seam in the window right here, but they're really taking advantage of the scenery behind to enhance their display. So take advantage of everything you can, right? Some other cool displays of fixturing, you know, here's the lighter colorations, shows off the merchandise much more. Again, I go back to the fixturing in this club out in the desert somewhere that really enhances the look of the merchandise because of the colorations and how they're able to display on those different fixtures and that. And then here's a beautiful fixture, but oh my gosh, the amount of merchandise that holds. And if you can't move this off the floor in the summer, what do you do? Because it's going to look empty without all kinds of shirts on it. The folds here help the table, you know, they folded obviously around foam or heavy paper to get that nice rounded look and make the stacks look fuller. So there's only like 4 shirts in each one of those stacks, but it looks like a lot more merchandise than that. So some little tricks to make a big fixture look full, but with these shelves, which a lot of built-in fixtures have these shelves that they intend to be pulled out, which isn't safe, so we never do. You got to make that look full in the off season. So think about those sorts of things. And then lastly, we're going to talk about our silent selling people. If you didn't figure that out, I meant mannequins and forms that allow merchandise to be shown as it will be worn. These are the things that help those customers that buy just based on what they see, decide what they're going to buy. It brings life to your merchandise. I love this picture here because this is clearly a golf shop at a golf and fishing club. And they've got a nice little fishing display in their fishing corner. So from anywhere in the shop, you would be able to tell that this, oh, here's all the merchandise for fishing. And it's just really clever. And the mannequin is doing the selling back there because there's probably not much going on in that corner except for that mannequin. Yeah. So remember to outfit your mannequins, dress them as you would actually sell them with multiple items. So our little fishing guy here has got the fishing gear on. He's got the pole. He's got everything he needs right there. And that. Recommendation, think about this for your shop, is 1 mannequin or bus form for every 100 square feet of apparel floor space. Bus forms like such as on this table here are much more versatile and easier to use than full-size mannequins. They're also a lot cheaper. Those would be about $100 a piece. You can get them. So 1 for every 100 square feet. And think about that. And do you have enough of those silent selling people? And here's how important they are. This is a nice table of shirts. Table of shirts, right? Here's that same table with 2 bus forms on it. Makes a huge difference. Now I see the merchandise. I want to actually go touch it and feel it and purchase it. Would I wear 3 shirts under my sweater? No. but it's showing it off in a nice way and all the different colors and stuff that are available. So they make a huge, huge difference. And lastly, please, no hats on the necks of mannequins or forms. That's not where we wear them. You need to have a head to put a mannequin on it. So if you're going to do this, get a mannequin that looks like that with a face. Well, they don't have to have a face, but they need to have a head and that. My 7 seconds are up, right? So time for questions if you have any on the different things that we talked about. And if not, take questions on whatever else. My final thought, my 8 seconds, right? What you see when you take this look at your shop is exactly what your customer's seeing when they walk in. So keep that in mind as you look around your shop. Open for questions. Anything golf related to your shop. How about that? I can't believe that Jason doesn't have a question.
Hey, Tracy. I would talk about, if you don't mind, a little bit about the AGM and some resources that they provide for people that are trying to get a little bit more into the merchandising in their shop or are looking for extra resources. That's been pretty helpful for us. I don't know if everybody else on the call is part of the AGM, but I would encourage it. Maybe talk about that.
All right. Thanks, Marie. Thanks for the endorsement there. So the AGM is the Association of Golf Merchandisers, and our sole function in life is to provide education for the golf retail side of our business. Our members get lots of different benefits, including webinars all the time. And all of our webinars now that we're doing, I shouldn't say all, but probably 99% of them are free. So there's no charge for any of them. Most of them do involve PGA credits, where we're able to have credits assigned, we do. And that, and then you also, when you become an AGM member, you get the AGM Guide to Merchandising, our merchandising manual, the whole books of promotions. Ken Morton from out in Hagen Oaks has written 6 books, I think we're up to now, on different golf promotions. You get those, all kinds of stuff, and invitations to seminars. The Tuesday before the PGA show in Orlando is our big event, and that's our all-day retail conference. Last year was phenomenal. I mean, the speakers were like out of this world, and just a really, really great day. And that's capped off by the product preview, which is where we ask our vendor partners, the ones that support our educational efforts, they all get a table there, and they can bring just a little tidbit of what they're going to show in their booths on the floor. And you get the opportunity, with drink in hand, to walk up and down the aisles and look at the vendors and talk to the sales managers and presidents of these companies who are there, interact, network, and get a preview of what's going to be on the show floor before you ever go there. So it's a great way to find new vendors and new items that are out there in the marketplace without having to wander those back aisles of the convention center when you get there. We do offer now also a certified retail manager program, which is a program that gets you certified as a retail manager. You work through a whole process of retail strategies, including developing an open to buy for your facility. And that's available for members and non-members as well, something that we're doing. So the website's there. Any questions that you have, happy to answer. Our membership right now is about half PGA members, so growing incredibly in the PGA side. Jason, I know, is a member. Marie is. There's probably others of you on here that are. So, any questions on that or comments? Jason's got something to say.
Of course I do. And I had to pop out just a second ago so I don't know if anyone asked this question, so I apologize. Can you talk about sight lines and elevation changes throughout? My shop's 2,000 square feet and surrounded by windows and all of that, but just the importance of sight lines and elevation changes on tables. And you talked about the pyramids. One of the things we're trying to do is to make sure, and our counter is located in the back corner, but the sight line to the front door is really important, so that we can address the member or the guest when they walk in and somebody can see us. Can you talk about sight lines, Tracy?
Yeah, so it's very important, and I don't really have a good picture in here to show that, but we talked about not creating a visual roadblock. So not only do you not want to block people from seeing into your shop, but it, Jason brings up a really good point to be mindful of: can your people at the counter see out to properly greet their customers? So you've got to stage your displays, you know, that way. And as you do that, if you stand at the front door of your shop and kind of look and walk in, you know, without knowing your shop, or ask someone from a different department to walk in your shop and then ask them how their eye was directed around the shop. You know, where did it go first? And then where did that display send it? So if you've got a display inside your front door, they look at that display, their eye is naturally going to travel to the right and up. So then your next sight point needs to be like up here and to the right. So maybe on a back wall or something to kind of get them to travel all around. And then I'd do the same thing from your back counter. You know, what are they, can they see out? And be mindful too of things you put on your counter. You know, sometimes we want to put like sunglass displays up there and all these other things. And if you have someone that's working at your counter that's 5'5", they're not going to be able to see over those things, or the ball displays and stuff. So some of that stuff, think about what's sitting on top of your counter as well, blocking people from seeing out and that. So it's a very important point. And this is where your walls come into play. And make sure that when you do a display on a wall, especially if your walls are dark colored, put something really, really bright that's going to stand out on your bus form high on a wall, so that the eye is going to travel from that front display up to the wall and get them to tour the shop that way. So your walls become really important in a shop the size of yours. Now, did that help? Awesome. Now see, I've been in Marie's shop, and they've got a smaller shop that's an L-shaped, which is always a fun shop to kind of merchandise, but counter right inside the front door, literally, but it's not the door that everyone uses. So it was purposefully put there because people come in from the grill room door, right, in the men's locker room. So,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
they did a great job there of merchandising to their real front door.
That's our goal. We're trying to, and we actually talked about that this morning. You know, we've got gloves and golf balls. We're in the middle of doing inventory. We're just trying to figure out how to control our inventory better. And those little items like that, we're trying to make space behind the counter to where we're having to pass it out, right? We're having to help the member. One, it gets a bigger interaction with them and their guests, but at the same time, we're able to make sure that we've got every single thing rang up, and that somebody can't poke their head in the front door, grab a glove, and walk out without anybody noticing. So those little ticket items that we know we're you know, we might not be that often every month, but we could do better on trying to make better control. But you're right, you know, that our counter used to be in the middle of the shop. It was really long. It blocked the dressing room. It blocked the golf shop office. So when we redid the shop, we put the counter up front. So when you walk in the side door, it's the first thing you see. And then when you walk in the front door, it's right there. So we're able to greet them. We're able to see everybody that comes in the golf shop. And it doesn't block the rest of the golf shop because we're pretty small.
But that's an important point that Marie brings up about, you know, helping customers. You know, we like self-service, and, you know, for a while there we were in this phase of these counters that held like 9,000 gloves right in the front, and all that those were a mess because everybody that came in carrying shoes hit the gloves, and they were all over the place, and they'd stand right in front of them and say, "Don't you have gloves?" Right? So we're not helping customers sometimes by putting that stuff as self-service. So it is a good idea to get that back behind the counter. It also helps people come and interact with your employees, you know, so it kind of forces the interaction on both parts, and does, you know, to Marie's point, help some of the unintentional shoplifting, you know, that goes on in country clubs because they come in and walk out the door and say, "Charge this to me," and no one knows whose back of the head that was to charge. So very good point. Other questions?
Tracy, I appreciate all the information. It's been great so far. I guess I'm probably too antsy on rotating displays and merchandise. What's kind of your I guess general timeline on how often you would rotate?
Boy, I don't believe you can be too antsy. The more often you do it, the better. We say every 2 weeks minimum in season, although the more the better. And it's also kind of a fun thing to do once a year, maybe before each season or even twice. depending on, your seasonality, to completely flip the sides of your shop. So if you typically have men on one side and women on the other, confuse them all and flip it. And it's amazing how it makes people look. Granted, some of them are going to complain, but it served its purpose because they actually looked at what's there, and so have some fun with it. But your front table, minimum of once every 2 weeks, and more if you've got new merchandise coming in and can constantly change it more. And you can't go wrong.
Awesome. Thanks for the info.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much, Marie, for having me. Anybody that's got questions, you've got my information. I think you've got a handout that's going to everybody as well that's got my information in it. Please feel free to reach out, email, text.
Absolutely.
With any questions, happy to help. AGM's here to help, and hope to see all of you again on the screen in my computer or at the PGA show at our conference. Would be great.